on offense, led by the transfer who arrived in January from Oklahoma, Spencer Rattler. Now a junior from Phoenix, Arizona. In his career as a starting quarterback, 16-3, went 15-2 at Oklahoma, but lost his job as the starting quarterback there last year. 1-1 in the 2 games so far here with the Gamecocks. Marshawn Lloyd is the running back. Rattler threw it all over the place last week in the loss at Arkansas, threw for 376. He is given plenty of time, fires over the middle, and it's caught for a 12-yard gain by his former Oklahoma teammate Austin Stogner at tight end.
You'll see both of these offenses use multiple tight ends in various formations. They're flexible guys. That time Stogner with the first catch.
Obviously a lot of comfort level between Rattler and Stogner. Rattler told us yesterday feels comfortable now with an all-new offense that he's had since January to learn, and with the skills of his teammates. Forced back by the rush, and he throws it away. Pressure by Jamon Dumas Johnson, getting more playing time this year as a sophomore. It's been well chronicled. They lost 8 defensive players to the NFL draft off the championship team.
Yeah, tailback Marshawn Lloyd just got overpowered. He was standing too straight up, and he got driven right back into the lap of the quarterback. Got to have a lower base to pick up a blitzing linebacker if you're a running back.
One thing to watch today, Jalen Carter, one of the top defensive players in the country, hobbled this week with an ankle injury. They weren't sure he'd be able to go. He did take part in the pregame. He's not out there right now. Strong run. Marshawn Lloyd tripped up at the 41, or would have been much more. Nazir Stackhouse took him down.
Marshawn Lloyd was one of the most publicized recruits that signed at South Carolina 2 years ago. Got off to a good start as a freshman. Blew his knee out. Came back last year, but was not himself. But he is a different looking running back this year, and you're right, he almost broke that one.
Jalen Carter has come on the field.
Wildcat quarterback in the ball game right now.
To carry on Joyner is one of the 4 starting quarterbacks who won a game for South Carolina last year. He doesn't get anywhere near the line to gain. Malachi Starks, the freshman who moved into the starting lineup last week in game 2 of his career, up from the secondary, and South Carolina's going to punt.
Here's the only thing about that. Spencer Rattler's your guy, right? Your first big 3rd down play of the game, let him make the play. Don't get cute and bring the Wildcat quarterback in. You're not going to fool the Georgia defense on a play like that.
Ty Kroger is the punter. That 79-yarder against Georgia State, the longest punt in the country. Here's Ladd McConkey on the return, and he stopped shy of the 20-yard line. McConkey also a question mark. He's been hobbled in practice this week with a toe injury, but out there at least to start. They are going to be without one of their top wide receivers in A.D. Mitchell, who will not play today.
A lot of young skill guys. Molly was talking about that in the beginning, and the biggest challenge for them is alignment, assignment. Try to stay composed in the chaos.
Stetson Bennett, terrific. He was the MVP on offense of both of their CFP playoff games against Michigan and Alabama, and he's off to a strong start again this year. Tries to dump it off. Looked like kind of a broken play, but it almost was a big play. Kearis Jackson couldn't take it in. Gilbert Edmond was providing the pressure on Stetson Bennett.
Well, watch Bennett. He wants to throw quick to the left. It's not there, so now he's going to run, and at the last minute tries to make a throw. I think it surprised everybody, but good defense for the first play for South Carolina. And they need something good to happen early in this ball game on defense.
They have been hit hard by injuries on the defense. 2nd down and 10. Bennett out of the gun. Kenny McIntosh, the running back. He's been an excellent receiver. Out wide It's Ladd McConkey trying to get to the first down marker. He did not. Stopped by Marcellus Dial, the cornerback. Third down and a yard. Really about a foot for Bennett, who hands it off, and McIntosh bumps off the pile and goes down. Shane Beamer, the Carolina coach, told us yesterday they need to tackle much better this week than they did last when Arkansas ran all over them.
The difference between last week and this week, Arkansas's quarterback is a big-time running threat in that offense, and that was a big part of the 295 yards rushing. Georgia does not present the same challenge in that regard, but their offensive line very good.
There's a little flip forward to Brock Bowers, the outstanding tight end. And he's out of bounds at the 45-yard line. Nice call by Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator, and another first down.
Yeah, I mean, this goes down as a pass completion, but it's really a run. It's a sweep, getting the ball in the hands of one of your best playmakers, Brock Bowers, with some lead blockers in front. He is excellent with the ball in his hands after the catch or a run.
Todd Monken, we talked to them yesterday, made the point. You know, some are stressing. They've only rushed for 129 yards per game, but he said a lot of our pass plays are really extensions of the run game, like the previous play. And that throw out wide to Kearis Jackson, really a long handoff as well. Good for 7.
See, one of the things I think Georgia's going to try to do, because of the depth issues and the injuries to South Carolina's defense, is run or throw to the perimeter and get this South Carolina defense running side to side, and then come back later and run the football. I really think they will rely on the run more today than they have the first 2 games, but they're going to set it up with perimeter passing.
Kendall Milton is the running back now. He's a second teamer. Wide open, Ladd McConkey. All kinds of running room, and he's out of bounds inside the 20. And Todd, this start is reminiscent of 2 weeks ago against Oregon when they just threw the ball on the perimeter. The receivers were wide open.
Yeah, McConkey just got lost. He's the guy who comes in motion, then he's just going to slip under the offensive line, and nobody accounts for him. A bust in the South Carolina defense. They lost track of McConkey, and Stetson Bennett gets him the ball quickly.
Concern for Shane Beamer, as Bennett has Georgia on the move. Milton powers his way down to the 15-yard line. 4 more. MJ Webb, who's ordinarily a backup in there, number 94. They're without Alex Huntley, an excellent defensive lineman who is out with a sprained right knee. Suffered that injury last week at Arkansas. Returned to that game for a while, but couldn't go during the week.
Yeah, and I was down the field before the game, and Stacy Searles, the offensive line coach for Georgia, as soon as he came out, saw the defensive linemen warming up, and all the coaches were saying 95's not out here. It changes their thinking a little bit.
Huntley was freshman All-SEC last year. Here's Milton driving, getting help from his offensive lineman. About 1.5 yards short of the first down. Brad Johnson made the tackle. They're also without their middle linebacker Mohamed Kaba, their top edge rusher Jordan Strong, 2 leaders of the defense. Both suffered ACL tears last week, and they're out for the year. So this defense very undermanned.
Very undermanned against a talented offense. Now you got these 2 tight ends right here for Georgia, both excellent receiving threats, and McIntosh out of the backfield.
They lean on McIntosh, finds a big hole, and has the first down just inside the 5. They believe one of the strengths of their entire team is that offensive line with 3 returning starters, and they opened a nice hole.
McIntosh and Milton kind of interchangeable. Milton a little bigger, a little more physical runner. McIntosh coming into the game, the leading receiver for Stetson Bennett. Really good catching the ball in the backfield.
First and goal from the 5. They have quieted this raucous crowd very quickly. The reverse. Brock Bowers turns the corner and scores. Another great call. Williams-Brice Stadium, Columbia, South Carolina. View from the AT&T 5G Skycam. And Podlesny kicks off again. About 4 yards deep, so they elect not to try it again. We check in for the first time today with Matt Barry. Hi, Matt.
Sean, good afternoon. Happy College Football Saturday. Let's check in on Nebraska, Oklahoma. First possession of the game for the Huskers. Casey Thompson, 32 yards to Trey Palmer. Dylan Gabriel has just scored. Right now tied up 7 apiece.
All right, thank you, Matt. Second possession here for South Carolina. Down 7-0 after an impressive opening drive by Georgia. Under duress, Rattler had to get it off quickly for minimal gain. Amarian Brown driven back by Jamon Dumas Johnson.
Timing of that really blown up by the Georgia defense. They sniffed it out. That ball was supposed to come out quickly. Rattler had to hang on to it. By the time he did deliver it, it was only complete for a very short game.
Georgia's given up just 3 points. Jalen Carter off the field on this down. They gave up a field goal in their 49-3 win in the opener against Oregon in Atlanta. Their largest win ever against an AP ranked team. They shut out Samford last week in a battle. The Bulldogs, long throw and a catch. Jaheim Bell, who does it all for the Gamecocks. The catch and run to the 28-yard line, a 41-yard pickup.
Bell is such an interesting athlete, can play wide out, tight end, running back, and he's going against a starting corner. But this is a perfectly thrown ball by Spencer Rattler over the outside shoulder. Bell got enough separation from Lassiter, and Rattler stuck the football right where it needed to be.
Officially a 46-yard play. 17 after the catch. They like their tight ends and wide receivers. They think they have good skill around Rattler. That's off the hands of one of the tight ends, Austin Stogner.
Right now, if you're a South Carolina fan or coach, the thing you're happy about is Spencer Rattler has a pretty clean pocket right now. And that was the one thing when we talked to Glenn Schumann, when we talked to Kirby Smart, they did not want this quarterback to have a clean pocket because he's very accurate throwing the football if he's not bothered. And so far, they have not been able to knock him off his rhythm throwing the football down the field.
Juju McDowell, the running back now. They fake a draw to him. They're trying to throw a wheel route, and it's picked off along the far sideline. The freshman Starks, who had one in the opener against Oregon, he has done it again. And Todd, reminiscent of 2 weeks ago against Oregon when you said Bo Nix can't make the big mistake and force it. You said the same thing in the opening today about Rattler, and he just did it.
Yeah, it looked to me like he was caught between, should I throw this away or should I take a shot at it? He went to the back, McDowell, who was covered. Here's McDowell coming out of the backfield after the fake. The wheel route, he's guarded very tightly, and it's an underthrown ball. I'm just not sure what Spencer was thinking when he let go of that football.
It's not the truck you drive, or the uniform you wear, the people you inspire, or the sacrifices you make. The greatest part of being a hero is the impact you have every single day. We thank you.
Team, it's been a grind, but I think I've aged you well. Some might say perfect. Who's ready to show 'em who's the cheesiest?
I woke up feeling the cheesiest, coach!
Cheez-It, official sponsor of the college football playoff.
If you know, you know.
Crispy corners, sauce on top.
If you know, you know.
Detroit style is back at Pizza Hut, just $12.99. You are trouble. No one out-pizzas the Hut.
the lawsuit, but everybody knows I wrote that song.
Flo? Gosh, it's been forever. You look fantastic. It's John. Ham, from the blind date we went on years ago?
Ah, the struggling actor who didn't believe he could save his snapshot based on how and how much he drives.
I'd love to talk about it over dinner sometime.
Well, I usually don't talk on the phone during dinner, but for potential customer Tom Ham, I will make an exception.
Oh, boy.
If you're always asking, where next? Capital One has the travel card for you. Venture X. Earn 10x miles on hotels and 5x miles on flights booked through Capital One Travel. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges. Find your where next with Venture X. What's in your wallet?
ESPN College Football is presented by Marathon. Get the most out of your drive.
Well, the last decade, South Carolina with a history of some upsets over highly ranked Georgia teams, including 2019, the biggest win of the Will Muschamp era for South Carolina. They had four takeaways, one in double overtime. Will Muschamp, now co-defensive coordinator here at South Carolina. And Malachi Starks, the interception. They give the ball back to the Georgia Bulldogs. They march down the field on their first drive. And they're at the South Carolina 43 to start this one. Kenny McIntosh down to the 28.
Now, looking back at this interception, I'm trying to figure out what Spencer Rattler might have thought he saw. He's looking for the wheel route and Juju McDowell. Maybe he thinks McDowell's going to turn it into a back shoulder throw because Malachi Starks was in perfect position. But Starks had eyes on the quarterback and came up with his second interception of the season. Just a poor decision by Spencer Rattler.
He turned it 42 yards, did Starks. Here's Bennett on the run. Out of bounds. Mark it at the 21-yard line.
You and I mentioned in the last break, we both think Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator, play caller for Georgia, is really good. And he's really been on his game so far this season. I mean, good use of personnel, misdirection, getting the ball on the perimeter, mixing run and pass, and really keeping it pretty simple for Stetson Bennett. He doesn't have to make a lot of deep throws out of the pocket. The ball's out of his hands quickly.
Bennett came in completing 75% of his passes through the first two games, and he's 5 out of 6 today. Back to the run with Milton. He swung down, but he has the first down. Sherrod Green tackled him.
Well, you think back how this game started. Shane Beamer wins the toss, elects to take the football, maybe sending a message to his team. Hey, I believe in you. We're going to attack these guys. They made a few plays. Then they got tricky on the third down play. Had to punt it. And Georgia has just started to take control of the football game with their offense here since that point.
Bennett pulls it down and takes off. Stetson Bennett inside the 5, lunging for the pylon. No signal yet. Now there is. Touchdown, Georgia.
One of the things that won the job for Stetson Bennett and won the hearts of the coaches was his ability to make plays with his feet and his legs. Here's the end of the play. Reaching the ball.
I think he's out of bounds.
I think he stepped out before the ball hit the pylon.
He clearly did. You see the foot is on the line. He's still lunging for the pylon there. This will likely come back to the 2-yard line. Mitchell Wilkins is the replay official today. And a view from our progressive pylon camera. Yeah, that's clear as a bell on that replay.
But the thing that Bennett did was he made a quick move to elude Nick Barrett, number 93, who was coming unblocked, to collapse the pocket and turned it into a big play.
Devontae Reed was number 3, who took a bad angle and couldn't get him. think Bennett, Kirby Smart know that offense is going to go back out.
Kirby's telling him right now, if you're going to reach the football, reach with two hands. Don't reach it out there with one hand and be careless with the football. Kirby is constantly coaching every aspect, right? I love him, but he just seems so grumpy all the time right now. He seems grumpy, even though his team is winning so well.
Well, he is always working, always teaching, always recruiting, and that's been the biggest part of their success. They brought in terrific players. I'm wondering why this is taking so long. Maybe they're just trying to figure out where the ball should go.
After
perhaps at the 1, even though the foot's at the 2.
The runner stepped out of bounds with the ball just past the 2-yard line. It'll be first down for Georgia.
Jason Autry is the referee. He looks familiar to our group. He worked the game we did last week. Pittsburgh hosting Tennessee. His crew did a fine job. So they'll mark it just inside the 2.
Just under 5 minutes left in the first quarter. Georgia with 124 yards of offense already. Nice blend of run and pass, and really have not been threatened by South Carolina's defense.
Saw Shane Beamer taking a deep breath. He really was positive, as he always is. When we visited yesterday, he said, yeah, we have some injuries, and they're a great team, but we have an excellent SEC football team ourselves. The interception really hurt on their last possession. Kendall Milton, the running back, lowers his head, and that's a touchdown. Georgia, 2 possessions and 2 touchdowns.
Great job by Warren McClendon, the right tackle, and big Darnell Washington, the bigger of the tight end group, just really collapsed the left side of that South Carolina defense. Tate Ratlitt, number 69, the right guard. Impressive drive.
And more of the same for Shane Beamer. Last week up in Fayetteville, Arkansas scored touchdowns on their first 3 possessions, all of them drives of double-digit plays.
All times referencing wide receiver Amarian Brown.
Yeah, they know about his speed. He got behind the defense a couple times last week. That's him in motion. They just didn't hit him, but he was behind the Arkansas defense a couple plays last week.
Sure was. Here's Marshawn Lloyd weaving through the defense. And a good tackle by Jamon Dumas-Johnson, or there might have been more in that run for Lloyd, who looks to be fully healthy. 2 years ago, Marshawn missed the entire season with a preseason knee injury, and last year you could tell he was a guy still working his way back, but he's had some explosiveness this year.
Yeah, he looks good. He looks good running, and he's really worked on his receiving skills and catching the ball out of the backfield.
Very highly recruited player out of Wilmington, Delaware.
Oh boy, he should have get the football in there. That was looked like a zone read. Spencer Rattler decided to pull it, but it looked like it was a big hole. Take a look at this now. He's going to cut in here. Rattler's going to read the end of the line and keep the football. But watch what happens if Marshawn Lloyd has the football. He's running upfield with his shoulders square. Still 3rd down and manageable now. This is where Spencer Rattler really has to show maturity and growth. Come back from that bad interception and be a leader.
Struggled on 3rd down, just 25%. Rattler in trouble, and he was hit as he threw it. Falls incomplete, intended for Marshawn Lloyd. It was Michael Williams, another true freshman, who has opened eyes very quickly in Athens. He's a defensive end.
Well, they did a nice little game here. They're going to cut this way. Dylan Wanham, the left tackle, he's normally the right tackle. He's playing left today because of injury, and that time got his shoulders turned. That little end tackle stunt. And Williams, with his speed and length, got to the quarterback.
It's a fake punt, and it is completed for a first down. Trayvon Kenyon is the tight end. Kai Kroger, now 3 for 3 passing in his career. They lean heavily on Beamer ball, and Pete Lembo, a great special teams coach.
Well, watch the punter. First, he is going to look to his left to move that linebacker out of the way and open up a throwing lane to the backside tight end, Kenyon. Pete Lembo told me on the field before the game, he says, we got a few tricks up our sleeve. we've got to try to steal a couple possessions. They just stole one right there, beautifully executed.
Or a 20-yard gain. First catch of the year for Kenyon. It was their third-string tight end. There's that hole for Marshawn Lloyd, and another first down. And the pile driven inside the 40 to the 38-yard line.
Coming into the game, South Carolina only averaging 59 yards a game rushing. I mean, obviously, this is a game that is going to be tough to run against this Georgia defense, but you've got to make them honest. You got to keep them honest, and that will help your pass protection as well when you run the football.
Part of the reason they haven't run it, they've been behind in both of their games. Here in their home opener against Georgia State, they actually trailed in the third quarter by 2. Rallied to win that one. 35-14. They were down 35-12. Last week, as we mentioned, they got way behind early at Arkansas. Rallied to make it a 5-point game in the second half. Lloyd swung down. On the last drive, the 46-yard play, Rattler to Jaheim Bell, is the longest play against the Georgia defense all year. Then they covered that up by picking off Spencer Rattler.
South Carolina's got to find a way to get Juice Wells involved in the game. Number 3, he's their leading receiver, the transfer from James Madison. Here he is out here. Has not seen a ball thrown his way yet.
In single coverage for the moment with Kamari Lassiter, a new starter at cornerback. Christian Beal Smith, transfer from Wake Forest, gets his first carry as a Gamecock and didn't get a lot. He picked up 2. Here comes third down and 8.
He's a little bigger, though. They've been using McDowell on third down, who's 5'9", 180. Christian Beal Smith, a little bigger back, a little bit more stout in the pass protection part of third down offense. Well, right now it looks like an empty set to begin with.
I guess it might be 4 down territory. They also have a kicker, Mitch Jeter, with a big leg.
Not going to win with field goals.
No. And nothing there for Christian Beal Smith. Smile Munden, another new starter, sophomore from Dallas, who's off to a nice start this season. Kirby Smart singled him out for good play through the first 2 games when we met yesterday. Shane Beamer will have some time to think about what he wants to do here on 4th down and 9, as they're going to let the clock run out here in the first quarter.
Yeah, here's the dilemma. You got to get touchdowns to have a chance to win, but your defense has not slowed Georgia down. Do you want? Raheem Bell is in the slot nearest to the line of scrimmage. Shane Beamer is upset because now you've given Georgia a long time to see your formation. Yeah. As they're trying to get these kids off the field.
That's bad.
Georgia's kind of got a bead right now on what the formation looks like.
Like I said, we have to steal possessions. You have to have an edge on special teams. They just did with the fake punt. Shane Beamer really irate. I mean, this is South Carolina's fault. This is their home game, and apparently these folks were on the field for some sort of ceremony between quarters. They don't seem to be in any big hurry to get off the field.
The other thing that could happen here, I'm not saying it will, but you know, they could try a quick kick here and really try to pin Georgia back, but it looks like they're going to go for it.
And pressure brought by Georgia. Rattler has his man, but short of the first down. Jalen Brooks ridden across the far sideline, well short. Keely Ringo made the tackle.
Because of the pressure, Sean, Spencer Rattler threw this ball behind his receiver. If it's out in front, he can keep running after the catch. He had to stop, turn around, and because he did that, Ringo was able to get there and wrap him up. He's got separation. If that ball is in front of Jalen Brooks, he can turn upfield and probably get the first down. But the pass was behind him, and Ringo was able to stop him short of the first.
Big tackle by Ringo, one of the heroes of the national championship game. His pick 6 against Alabama sealed the win. Pass in the flat is forward and incomplete. Intended for Kieris Jackson. I think Shane Beamer will be chatting with the athletic department's ops people this week about ceremonies between quarters that involve being on the field. 45-year-old head coach in his second year here, the son of the great Frank Beamer, who's here today, Hall of Fame coach at Virginia Tech, Shane's mom Cheryl. Two of the nicest people you would ever meet. Shane is evidence the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Bennett over the middle, caught and powering for extra yardage. Darnell Washington, the huge tight end. Frank Beamer still lives in Blacksburg, makes the 5-hour drive down here with Cheryl for the home games. What a wonderful man.
Yeah.
As great a coach as he was, an even nicer person. Very proud of Shane.
He and his wife have a daughter living in Charlotte, so they just kind of go up and down Route 77 to Charlotte and to here.
They have 6 grandchildren, 3 here, 3 in Charlotte. Charlotte only about an hour-and-a-half drive from Columbia. Here's a flea flicker. McIntosh flipped it back to Bennett. McConkey in double coverage, and they throw flags. Nick Emanwari, the true freshman, had primary coverage. They had 2 men there. They didn't really need to interfere, it seemed. Emanwari knocked it down.
The ball was thrown so high, Emanwari, he thought he was beat. But the ball hung up in the air, and he never saw the ball. And the contact drew the interference flag. You're right, he didn't need to because the ball was hanging in the air. If he just turns his head, he's 6'4". He's going to make a play on that football over McConkey. Instead, first down, Georgia.
15-yard penalty from the line of scrimmage in college football. Darius Rush was the other cover man. Starting cornerback. Out to the short side to Ladd McConkey, who looks fine after missing some practice time this week with an injured toe. What a nice start to the season. McConkey had a rushing and receiving touchdown in the opener against Oregon, when they scored touchdowns on 7 straight possessions to start the game. Todd Monken said every 5 or 10 years you might have a game like that where just everything clicks. It was particularly impressive in the opener. Nothing doing there for Milton. Driven back by Sherrod Green, a 6th-year senior. He's had a lot of injuries during his time here in Columbia.
Good defensive play right there by South Carolina. Pretty fortunate they didn't get a penalty for picking the back up and slamming them to the ground. I've seen a lot of flags for that this year. This is the biggest play of the game right now so far for South Carolina. Their defense has to get a stop here on 3rd and 5.
Two for 2 already on 3rd down. 3rd down and 5. They are in field goal range. Podlesny has a big leg. Be about a 50-yarder from here. Very little breeze at the moment. Betts in the short set. Stetson Bennett the short set, and he finds McConkey.
It's perfect timing. I mean,
we can shorten that, by the way, to Benson if we want to.
Perfect timing. I mean, this ball is thrown before McConkey gets out of his break. I mean, they're just right on cue in between 2 defenders.
And they snap it quickly. That's thrown into traffic. There are 2 flags down. The catch made by Marcus Rosemy-Jackson. One of the great names in college football. Good for a first down at the 7.
Illegal substitution. Defense, 12 players on the field at the snap. The penalty is declined. Result to play is a first down.
Well, it's an improvement because they had hundreds of Gamecocks on the field when they were trying to run their 4th down play at the end of their last possession. So 1st and goal after a 15-yard completion. 4th catch of the year for Jackson, a junior from Pompano Beach, Florida. 5 receivers spread the formation. Bennett for the back pylon, incomplete. Over the head of Ladd McConkey with a true freshman in coverage. DQ Smith from Spring Valley High School right here in Columbia. He's in for one of the best players in the country, Cam Smith. Another injury loss for the Gamecock defense today.
That was a good throw by Stetson Bennett. McConkey was a little upset with himself. He didn't come down with that. Kind of like little slot fade right to the back corner, and it was well thrown. Just a little bit over the mark.
Might have started into a leap a step too early. Gamecocks coaches very high on DQ Smith. How about those red zone numbers? Only a missed field goal against Samford. The toss to Milton and a nice tackle. O'Donnell Fortune. Nice play in the open field.
Yeah, it really was. He broke down. He had good leverage. He wasn't going to let Milton break it outside, and he made a nice tackle in space.
Officially a 1-yard gain. This will be the 10th play of the drive for Georgia.
You got to keep an eye on that big tight end right here. Darnell Washington right here, 6'7", 250-pound target in the red zone.
They go to the other tight end, Brock Bowers.
Wow.
Touchdown with Fortune there. But Bowers is just too good. And Stetson Bennett shaken up while throwing the 6-yard touchdown pass to Bowers, who has run for one and now caught one.
Now another perfect throw, kind of back shoulder, and you see the athleticism of Bowers. First of all, secure the catch, no bobble, all the way to the ground.
96 for Georgia's reporting is 44.
The field can be. He must have been sick coming here. I mean, it's not, as we said at the outset, a really hot day. It's 84 degrees right now, moderate humidity. There's first down for the Gamecocks, and it's Josh Vann knocked out of bounds for no gain on the play. He had a huge game in Athens in their loss to the Bulldogs last year. Had 128 yards receiving, his best game of his career. And he scored a touchdown. That was game 3, Todd, last year for the Bulldogs. He scored a touchdown in the 4th quarter. It was the first touchdown the defense had given up last season. They haven't given up a defensive touchdown this season. Touchdown well on defense. Rattler checks it down. Juju McDowell bringing a little juju to the offense.
Absolutely.
And out of bounds with a first down at the 37 after a whiff by Chaz Chambliss.
Chambliss is an outside linebacker, kind of out there in space, and Juju McDowell does what he does well. Makes people miss. 5'9", 180. And gets the first down.
Chaz isn't the only guy who's going to miss him. Another tackle for Jamon Dumas Johnson. And a nice first half. 10.5 to go. Ahead for about 5 is McDowell. Here's Matt Berry.
All right, guys, it's the House Stoops Bowl. You got Mark Stoops, Kentucky, and Youngstown State. Stoops family from Youngstown. Will Levis. A little bit of a sleepy start for the Wildcats. Big run there, and then he finishes off the drive with a touchdown. McDonough, I'm still efforting a Syracuse highlight, but, you know.
I don't see anything yet from the Harvard of Central New York, Syracuse University. 2-0. Here's McDonough. Almost broke free. They've had a couple of runs where the last man who had a chance to tackle the runner did before a much bigger game. That time it was Kamari Lassiter.
South Carolina has done some good things on offense in the ballgame. They're at 132 total yards running and passing, but a bad interception and a stop on 4th down.
It was actually Smile Munden who made the tackle with Lassiter nearby. Big stop by the sophomore linebacker from Dallas, Georgia. McDowell, 26 yards gained on their last 3 plays. 5-man rush. And a good tackle as Xavier Legette is pulled down immediately by Tresman Marshall.
South Carolina Carolina was in a similar position like this on the road last week at Arkansas. The Hogs jumped out to a big lead. They clawed their way back into that one, got it to be 21-16 by the end of the third quarter. Then turnovers in the fourth quarter with a difference in that game. They got to find a way to fight back in this one. Give their defense a little rest.
They're at midfield. Second down and 9, and all kinds of movement on both sides.
Second down and 14 now.
Ball start. Offense, number 79. 5-yard penalty. Remains second down.
Well, it's Dylan Wanham, who's ordinarily their right tackle. Their left tackle, Jalen Nichols, is banged up. He has not played left tackle before at the University of South Carolina. Tyshawn Wanamaker has moved in at right tackle. And Wanham over to the left. It's a veteran offensive line, 139 combined career starts among the entire group, led by Eric Douglas, the center, making his 27th career start. And they cannot stop the rush of Marshall, and Rattler throws it away.
Again, one of the problems that time, it was just not the back, it was the offensive line that kind of opened things up. They brought a linebacker blitz. It's still only 5 guys rushing, but you can see the center, Eric Douglas, number 71, got turned around in the middle of that, and when the pressure comes inside like that, very difficult to do anything except throw the football away.
Third down and 14, 8:15 to go till halftime. South Carolina 0 for 3 on third down. They did convert a fourth down on a fake punt. Twisting up front. They hope for run after the catch from Brooks, and they got just a little. He's out of bounds in Georgia territory at the 48-yard line, but still about 7 yards shy of the line to gain.
Well, they went for it on 4th and 9 and got stopped. This is shorter, about 4th and 7. And this time they're going to punt the football.
Or have another fake. Will Muschamp and that Georgia staff alert to the fact that they have a lot of tricks in their special teams bags. We talked about Frank Beamer, master of the special teams, known as Beamer Ball, and Shane has carried on the family legacy. A punt by Kroger, and good coverage as Ladd McConkey was tripped up by the long snapper Hunter Rogers. And Georgia will start from the 9-yard line. Lead. Third down along 2 with McIntosh, the running back. Pressure up the middle, and Benson.
Wow.
Stetson Bennett. I want to make that into something smaller. Threw it up dangerously in the general direction of Kenny McIntosh. And what do you know? After 3 possessions and 3 touchdowns, they are stopped.
When you try to run a screen, you go ahead and invite pressure, but the problem was number 91, Tonka Hemingway, was guarding the screen. So not only was the quarterback pressured, there was no place to throw the screen, and had to kind of throw it away. And South Carolina gets a stop.
Brett Thorson, their new punter, freshman from Melbourne, Australia. And a nice start to his Georgia career. Well, that one's a bit of a shank. There is a flag down at the line of scrimmage. If it's against South Carolina, it would be a first down on 4th down and 3. Punt rolled out of bounds at the 40-yard line of South Carolina. 43-yard punt. Nice bounce for Thorson.
Illegal formation, kicking team. Players are not on the line of scrimmage. The 5-yard penalty be added to the end of the kick.
They keep moving the ball back. He got 3 on first down. Harriet Ingram Dawkins made the tackle.
Again, still no touches for Antoine Wells, their leading receiver.
Stumbling on the handoff, Lloyd, he managed to turn the corner, got into Georgia territory, did not get the first down. And that's, don't you think, Todd, one of the things Georgia does so well? Yeah. They game plan for their team. We're going to, sort of like Bill Belichick has done in the NFL, we are going to take away this guy.
Yep.
And it's obvious that today, Wells has been a big focus of Will Muschamp and Glenn Schumann's defense. Co-defensive coordinators after Dan Lanning left to be the head coach at Oregon. Third down and 4. Georgia acting like it might bring pressure. And they don't, and they stuff the run. Marshawn Lloyd driven all the way back inside the 30-yard line. Ingram Dawkins there again. Redshirt freshman from here in South Carolina from Gaffney.
Well, watch the inside move. They just get penetration behind the line of scrimmage.
Wow.
They weren't expecting run. They just collapsed the line of scrimmage. On their way to the quarterback, they stopped the run and forced another punt.
How well do they tackle? I mean, talent's one thing, but it is very rare we talk about Georgia defenders missing a tackle. Sean McDonough, Todd Blackledge, Molly McGrath, delighted to have you with us from Columbia, South Carolina. Georgia with the ball, leading 21-0. They're forced to punt for the first time today on their last possession. Kendall Milton powered ahead for 6 on first down. A junior from Fresno, California. Back up last year, played in only 8 games. He had a knee injury. They lost Zamir White, the 4th round, the Las Vegas Raiders, and James Cook, the 2nd round of the Buffalo Bills, their top 2 running backs from last year. And no problem. They had 15 players drafted off the national championship winning team, the record. 8 on defense, 5 of those in the first round. And here they are, dominating the competition through the first 3 games. Brock Bowers, the catch and run, and a first down to the 29-yard line.
Again, you see his ability after the catch. I mean, he has wide receiver skills and he has running back skills after he gets his hands on the football. They're finding ways to get him the ball in space. Great block by his fellow tight end Darnell Washington out in front of that play. He's just a unique athlete, Brock Bowers, that you can do a lot of things with, and Todd Monken continues to find interesting ways to get him the football.
Georgia in no hurry. They have plenty of time to go down the field with all 3 timeouts. Bennett on target, first down. Nice catch by Dominic Blaylock, his 2nd of the year.
Excellent protection. They kept the back in. Blaylock was in the slot running the deep over route, and Stetson Bennett accurate with the football.
Blaylock battled some injuries during his time in Athens, missed all of 2020 with the knee injuries. The son of the former NBA All-Star Mookie Blaylock, and they're happy for him on that Georgia sideline. After the fake toss, Bennett got it off to Bowers for a first down.
What a play by Stetson Bennett. I mean, he sells the fake, so he's late getting his head and eyes around after the bootleg fake. Watch how long it takes him. Sells the fake. Now, when he gets it, there's somebody right there, and he has to instinctively get rid of the ball, and he throws it to the right guy. Brock Bowers, excellent hands, reaches back behind him with one hand and makes his quarterback look good.
14-yard gain. Bennett did take a hit from Tonka Hemingway, ordinarily a backup. Will play more today without Alex Huntley up front. Okay, Todd Monken really deep into the bag of tricks. Lad McConkey ducks under a tackle and has a first down at the 25-yard line.
It looked at first like McConkey wanted to throw that football as he got it on the reverse. Here he is right here. He's going to just come around, get the reverse. Now watch, it looks like he wants to throw it. Didn't see anything he liked out there and made the right decision to run the football.
Georgia has outscored its opponents. Oregon, Samford, and now South Carolina. 103-3. And they're on the move again. They still haven't given up a touchdown this season. With under a minute to go in the first half. Bennett all day. He got away from the rushing Gilbert. Edmond finally had to throw it and threw it away. Jordan Birch applied the late pressure that forced the throw. Here's Matt.
All right, Lexus halftime report coming up, Sean. Oklahoma, Nebraska, the restored rivalry renewed. It's not a game. It's also not a game for Michigan and Baylor. They're routing people today. Plus, one of 8 undefeated teams in the ACC, Syracuse, in a defensive battle with Purdue. I've got your highlights, Sean. Avoid the hot dog line of the halftime snack. I'll show it to you.
All right, maybe time for a quick dog, and then we'll get back in time for the Cuse highlights. 2nd and 10. They're in field goal range at a minimum and have all 3 timeouts left, as does South Carolina. Gamecocks blitz, single coverage, and it is incomplete. Intended for Jackson Meeks, sophomore from Phoenix City, Alabama, where his high school coach was Patrick Nix, the former Auburn quarterback and dad of Bo.
Yeah, really nice play by Marcellus Dial. I mean, he was right in there, kind of got his hands in there and ripped the ball away. Read the quarterback's or the wide receiver's eyes, and then got his hand in there and made a nice play.
Well, another thing the South Carolina coaches have talked about in our meetings was the need for takeaways. Dial has an interception against Georgia State, and that is the only takeaway by this Gamecock defense that led the conference last year with 24. Single coverage again, and excellent coverage by the freshman DQ Smith on Ladd McConkey. Those are 2 true freshmen.
Yep.
In that picture, Eamon Wari and
number 96
Smith,
for Georgia's reporting is 44. 4th down.
Shane Beamer and his staff starting to do better in recruiting. You need these kind of guys to compete with the Georgias and Alabamas.
Well, you mentioned he's playing because Cam Smith is out. His backup, David Spalding, also out. So DQ Smith, the starter today, he was a quarterback in high school, very talented athlete. Good position on that coverage.
Jack Podlesny, excellent kicker from 42 yards. And it is good. He's 5 out of 6 this season, and his only miss was a 54-yarder last week against Samford. Our SEC lineup of games continues tonight on ESPN. 6 o'clock, Mississippi State at LSU, and then 9 o'clock, one of the big games of the weekend, number 13 Miami at number 24 Texas A&M. They dropped out of the top 10 all the way down to 24 after the upset loss at home to Appalachian State. They're going to make a quarterback change tonight. The LSU transfer Max Johnson will start at quarterback.
Yeah, they were they just had nothing going offensively a week ago. I mean, you know, App State went in there and dominated the game. They ran the football on them, and they stopped everything A&M tried to do offensively. Jimbo Fisher looking for a spark and a change, and turning to the lefty, Max Johnson tonight.
Podlesny to kick off. Senior from St. Simons Island, Georgia. Nice place. And another touchback. He just bombs it. Time for today's Weekend Wake Up, brought to you by Wendy's Breakfast. And here are some of the other notable SEC games today, in addition to the 2 we just mentioned. Ole Miss at Georgia Tech, and your alma mater is at Auburn, return game after they hosted the Auburn Tigers last year.
It was a great scene in State College a year ago, and it'll be a beautiful scene tonight on the Plains too, or this afternoon. Tough environment to go into for the Nittany Lions.
Back in the top 25, unranked to start the year. 30 seconds to go. Rattler's trying to set up a screen, it seemed. He threw it away, and a good thing he did, as Austin Stogner was double covered. Stogner, a big reason why Spencer Rattler came to Oklahoma. Austin Stogner had already transferred from Oklahoma. He came on a visit here. And he told Spencer Rattler, if you're looking to go someplace else, South Carolina is an awesome place. They were both familiar with Shane Beamer because Shane had been on the coaching staff at Oklahoma under Lincoln Riley. Here's another screen. Marshawn Lloyd runs out of bounds. And now it'll be third down and 18 seconds to go in the half.
South Carolina has yet to convert a third down in the ball game. And coming into the game, that was a weak spot. They were 124th in the country, only 25%. And they are 0 for 5 today in the ball game. And this is no easy task. Third down and 10 in your own territory against this Georgia defense.
Marcus Satterfield is the offensive coordinator. They like screens. They ran a lot of them last week against Arkansas. Rattler got it off. There might have been some holding up front, but no call. They tried to get it to Juice Wells, who still does not have a catch. And there's a flag, and it's going to be against Georgia.
I think it was Lassiter, 3-on-3.
Defense number 3. Ball will be placed to the spot of the foul. It includes an automatic first down.
That right hand around the back is what drew the flag. I mean, he was there and could have made a play with his left hand, but wrapped around with that right arm, and that drew the flag.
Well, it's 1st and 10, but they're still well into their own territory at the 30. And only 13 seconds to go.
And Georgia in a prevent defense, a 3 deep safety look. Got 3 guys back at the 50-yard line.
Rattler stepped in, still got hit, got it off, and it fluttered short of his good buddy Stogner. Nolan Smith brought the pressure and hit the arm of Rattler.
I think you run the football here. I mean, that time the ball gets deflected, he gets hit. It goes up in the air. You just can't afford to have something bad happen here at the end of the half.
Or you could launch a bomb and hope that
you could.
You got a pass interference call or a big gainer, but I'm with you. Not a lot going on with this Carolina offense. They elected to take the ball after winning the toss.
South Carolina has called their first time out of the half. It's 30 seconds in left.
We'll see. If you're going to take a knee, basically run the ball, you probably don't call a timeout.
Right.
So perhaps they're going to try something. Been an interesting year plus, hasn't it, for Spencer Rattler? We visited with him yesterday. At the beginning of last year, heading into last season when he was at Oklahoma, he was the preseason favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. After 6 games, lost his job to Caleb Williams. So this is a fresh start. He told us even if Lincoln Riley had stayed at Oklahoma, he was going to go somewhere else.
Yeah. And I was impressed when we sat down and visited with him Friday. I was impressed with him. I mean, he was, very alert. He looked us in the eyes. He answered every question, and very confident young man, obviously. And his coaches and his teammates really like him, and they really feel like the one thing about him, he's been able to, when he makes a mistake in a game, he's been able to overcome it, leave it behind, go to the next play. He's going to have to do that. He's going to have to go to the next play a lot here in the second half.
I think some people saw the TV show he was featured on when he was in high school, came away with an impression that may not be the reality. He certainly is a very humble young man in the visits we've had with him, both here and at Oklahoma. Jalen Brooks, the catch. And it looked like they marked him short of the first down, and it looks like the half is over, although Shane Beamer is pleading his case. Georgia running toward its tunnel. Jason Autry conferring with Mitchell Wilkins, I believe, in the replay booth.
The runner went out of bounds with 1 second on the clock. Please restore 1 second in the first half.
And we're happy to report that the tunnel Georgia will be running to is finally clear of Gamecock
South
students.
Carolina has called their second timeout. It's 30 seconds in length.
Yeah, he's down. Good call.
Yep.
Some of those who are not going to participate in the rest of the half are getting an early start. To the enhanced air conditioning in the locker room. They were concerned about perhaps not enough AC here in Columbia, so they brought their own air conditioning unit.
Yeah, I came down through that tunnel on the way to the field before the game. There is no shortage of supplies that Georgia brought.
They are lacking nothing in the football program.
Nothing.
So, you know, if you're Shane Beamer, you're pleading for the extra play. You would think you'd launch one. He certainly has the arm to throw it. The defensive coaches for Georgia talking last night about how Rattler can throw it 70 yards.
Timeout has been called by Georgia. It's their first of the half. 30 seconds.
That's a little gamesmanship right here between a couple buddies, Kirby Smart and Shane Beamer.
Well, it gives us time to work in some promos. Mike Mascara will be happy in the truck as he can check off some boxes. Kick off your Week 2 NFL Sunday at 10 a.m. with the Countdown Crew on ESPN and the app. They have all the early breaking stories, injury updates, previews of each game right up to kickoff, and then we'll cap off Week 2 in the NFL with a Monday night doubleheader. A lot of the members of our crew will be in Buffalo for the Titans and the Bills at 7:15 on ESPN and Deportes. And at 8:30 on ABC, ESPN Plus and Deportes, Minnesota and Philadelphia. What a start to the season for Buffalo, winning against the Rams in LA. And what a thud to end the half with Rattler forced to throw it away with two Bulldogs right in his face. And a smattering of boots.
That last time out by Georgia, they caught a little blitz by Munden. The middle linebacker came untouched, and Rattler had to throw it away. He had to throw it away a lot in that first half.
Well, let's see how happy Kirby Smart is with a 24-0 lead.
Coach, up 24-0 in your first true road test. What's your biggest critique of your team in the first half?
Probably defensive eye control. Had a couple plays where they got behind us and we weren't looking at the right things. And then offense, we kind of stalled out there in the second quarter, didn't put together some drives.
We saw your quarterback Stetson Bennett getting sick. Your staff was trying to cool him down. How concerning is that?
Wide open for Brock Bowers. New safety in the game, got himself out of position. Then he missed a tackle at the end of the play. Todd Monken said, no mercy. New guy in, we're going after him.
And Marshawn Lloyd blasted by Nolan Smith. That replay reminded me of one of my favorite, maybe my favorite college football announcing duo of all time, Keith Jackson and Frank Broyles. Frank Broyles used to say, Keith, where is the safety man? The safety man was not in the right place. And you feel for B.J. Gibson. He came here as a walk-on last year, transferred from Navy, but they are so decimated on defense that he's forced in there when he otherwise would not be playing in this game. Back shoulder throw and a catch. Spencer Rattler on target to Jalen Brooks. So if you're South Carolina here now, what are you trying to accomplish? Just get something you can take with you into the future?
Fight, character, resiliency, and try to put some stuff together offensively. Your defense, they're not going to stop Georgia today. So offensively, you need to try to do some stuff to help them out. And there's their first third down conversion of the ball game. So that's a positive thing. You're looking for any positive, and you mentioned Shane Beamer, as positive of a guy as we're going to meet in college football. And he's not blowing smoke. I mean, he does have some talent on this team. They're going to continue to recruit and use the transfer portal, but they just don't have the depth to sustain some of the things they had to sustain coming into this game.
Marshawn Lloyd shuffled ahead to the 42-yard line. Here's Molly.
Time Shane Beamer said our quarterback Spencer Rattler needs to be special in this second half. He's trying to do too much. He mentioned that interception. He said we're moving the ball, we're just not finishing drives. And I asked why wide receiver Antoine Wells hasn't seen more targets. He said it's not by design. Georgia's defense is just dictating where they're going. But his emphasis was all on Rattler needing to be better in this second half.
That interception was a big play early in the game after they had moved well into Georgia territory.
Well, interceptions and lack of success on third down, and then a failed fourth down. You know, and Georgia took advantage every time South Carolina didn't come through in those situations. Rattler a little gimpy getting up at the end of that play. threw that one away.
Well, he's thrown 2 touchdowns and 4 interceptions so far as a Gamecock. He got hit at the end of the play by Dumas Johnson. When we talked to Spencer Rattler yesterday, and this goes back to Oklahoma, he said, I need to tighten up my decision making. That was a direct quote. There's no denying the talent. Made him the Heisman Trophy favorite. Sometimes the decision making isn't always as it should be. They threw a wheel route for Lloyd, but he's out of bounds.
Well, again, pressure. You know, Spencer Rattler had to throw this backing up off his back foot. Inside pressure right away by Dumas Johnson. No time for Spencer Rattler to set his feet and throw an accurate ball. Has to get rid of it. And throws it out of bounds.
Ty Kroger will punt. He missed most of the preseason with a foot injury. Fractured bone in his foot. No chance. Tyshawn Wanamaker, ordinarily a backup in the starting lineup today. They think he has starter ability. They say sometimes he just gets a little too hyped up during the game. Kendall Milton, the ball carrier. They're not getting penalties and that sort of thing, but he can just get, so animated, so emotional that it affects his play. And Nick Eamon-Warry's back in the game. He made the tackle for Carolina.
Good time in the game for Georgia to work more on that running game. Again, coming into the game, they've been doing everything so well, but only 129 yards per game rushing, throwing it really well. A lot of their perimeter throws, light runs. But with the game pretty well in hand here, a chance to really lean on that big offensive line and work on that running game.
Stetson Bennett on 1st and 10. Sidesteps the rush of Sherrod Green and dumps it short. Nice catch by Milton.
When we talk to the Georgia coaches, both Kirby and Todd Monken, one of the things, it's not a negative thing, but the thing they both said about Stetson Bennett, he just has to continue to play within himself. He's so smart, and sometimes he just tries to do everything that he can and change every play, does too much. A play like that, you can tell how comfortable he is. He eludes the pressure, doesn't panic, and dumps it off for a short gain. Very comfortable.
Dejon Edwards breaks free from a poor tackle and finally gets swung down by the true freshman Eamon-Warry, but it's a first down for Georgia out at the 47-yard line, a gain of 17.
We've told Stetson Bennett's story, and it never gets old, but it's amazing. When we did this game last year, J.T. Daniels was the starting quarterback, threw for over 300 yards, looked really good. In fact, at one point, they took him out and they put Stetson Bennett in, and he promptly sailed a ball and threw an interception. And we both wondered, why did they even change? Why did they change the rhythm of the game?
In the game? It was going well with J.T. Daniels, but then Daniels got hurt again, and that opened the door for Stetson Bennett.
He never looked back.
No, he did not. He went 11-1 last season. The only loss was to Alabama in the SEC title game. There's another man running wide open. Kendall Milton tripped up, or that might have been a touchdown. It's Kawan Banks, another freshman, true freshman, in the secondary for Carolina. They have even more injuries out there today.
Again, these plays right in here, they get lost where the ball, nobody accounts for the back coming out of the backfield. The tight end is wide open, the back is open. Stetson Bennett, just multiple opportunities of where he wanted to go with the football on that play, and takes the big play with Milton.
Good for 35 yards. Edwards on a delay. Eamon-Warry, another good tackle on the junior from Norman Park, Georgia. We talked about last year. Stetson Bennett not only went 11-1 as a starter, avenged the loss to Alabama with an MVP performance in the title game, national championship game against the Tide. Now he shows his running skills and weaves into the end zone. Not sure I'd want the quarterback running with a 31-0 lead, but it all works. This is an 11-yard touchdown run. I was going to finish by saying they went 8-0 in the SEC with Bennett last year in the regular season. First time they've been undefeated in conference play since 1982.
And this was the biggest difference between he and JT Daniels, was his ability to make plays with his feet. Just eludes a defender right there at the point of attack. Very quick feet. He's got good speed. He doesn't run it a lot, but when he does run it, he's very effective.
Jack Podlesny for the extra point. And it's 38-0, just more than midway through the third quarter. Another rock-solid day for Bennett, emerging even bigger Heisman candidate. Yard line, the kicker, Podlesny, had to knock him out of bounds. And it's going to be against Carolina.
During the return, holding number 5 return team. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. That'll be first down, South Carolina.
Here's Matt Berry.
Okay, Sean, couple of close games in this early window. Purdue-Syracuse still locked in 9-3. That over on ESPN2. Cincinnati probably having a little more of a dogfight than they wanted with Miami, Ohio. And on ESPN Plus, that game just underway as well. So plenty of football out there in the noon window before we hit the 3:30 window. All of that, ESPN, ESPN2, ESPNU.
All right, Matt, keep working hard. Not a big surprise that there's some one-sided games the early part of this college football day.
You know, Cincinnati, Miami of Ohio. I mean, you would think Cincinnati the upper hand, but that's a heck of a rivalry game.
Rattler in double coverage. Somebody has the ball. Georgia has it. Dan Jackson with the interception. It was intended for Jaheim Bell.
Well, this is a play where you're giving one of your best players a chance to make a play on the football, Jaheim Bell. There were 2 defenders out there, and Dan Jackson just won the fight for the football. You know, you say, why throw that into that coverage? But Raheem is a much bigger target at 6'3", 232. Dan Jackson, 6'1", 190. But the defensive back went out and outfought him for the football.
His first career interception as the turnover shoulder pads on. Out of Gainesville, Georgia, Carson Beck is going to come in to play quarterback now. The day is likely over for Stetson Bennett. We saw Beck in the opener against Oregon, sophomore from Jacksonville.
Yeah, and he played most of the second half last week also, so he's getting some good reps, live reps. They're going to let him throw. He's a great thrower.
He's going to take no time to get loose, and they throw a flag for pass interference. Dylan Bell with fellow true freshman Kawan Banks in coverage. And stop us if you heard this before. Bell was a highly recruited true freshman who is playing at Georgia.
There you see the tug on the back of the jersey, impeding the receiver from going for the ball and making a play. The referee right there did not see the backhand on the jersey. That's why it was called from the side.
Defense, 15-yard penalty from the previous spot, includes an automatic first down.
You know, Sean, we were talking about this yesterday, and they're still young and they're still growing, but I think collectively Georgia has more firepower on offense this year than they did last year. I mean, obviously they lost the guys on defense. They lost 2 really good running backs. One of their top receivers transferred to Alabama. But they've got so many good young receivers coming up and playing now. They've got a healthy Darnell Washington along with Brock Bowers. Stetson Bennett, 3 years in the offense.
Branson Robinson, another true freshman. Branson Robinson dragged out of bounds near the first down marker. True freshman from Canton, Mississippi, getting his 6th carry as a Georgia Bulldogs. He had 3 last week against Samford. They just keep rolling in great talent.
Yeah, they have become like Alabama. I mean, they're very similar. You know, Kirby was there. That's where he learned the model, playing, coaching for Nick Saban, the defensive coordinator there for many years. And when he got here, he kind of built with the same blueprint. And recruiting relentlessly, and Georgia's a great recruiting state. Lots of high school talent. And they have recruited at the top of the heap here for the last 4 or 5 years.
Play action pass by Beck. Has a man wide open. And it's a touchdown. Oscar Delp. True freshman with his first catch. One of the top high school recruits in the country out of Cumming, Georgia.
96 for Georgia's reporting is player 44.
And he'll always remember his first reception. It wound up in the end zone, a 28-yard score.
Just a little bit of hesitancy by the linebacker, Donovan Westmoreland, was all that Delp needed. Nice little combination route between the tight end and the receiver. Dylan Bell, who you were talking about earlier, and Carson Beck found the right guy.
Talk about recruiting as the extra point's good. Oscar Delp, number 12 overall in the ESPN 300 out of high school. The 12th prospect at any position in the country.
A little combination route. He's coming in, he's going out, and this linebacker right here is just going to freeze for a half a second. And that little bit of hesitation is all Delp needed to run by him. It's man coverage. He who hesitates is lost. And Carson Beck throws a touchdown.
His second of the season. It's 45-0 with 6 minutes to go in the third quarter. And what a thrill for Delp.
I mean, it almost feels like they can score whenever they want to.
And because they pretty much have.
I mean, all season, right? I mean, no, they were not sharp last week against Samford. They had to settle for field goals in the red zone. They were a little sloppy. But in week 1 and in week 3, their offense has looked virtually unstoppable.
Lesney's kickoff is a touchback again. Only tried to return one. Time for the Aflac trivia question. We want to know who holds the Georgia single game record for most sacks by a defensive back.
I know this one.
I do too. We'll give a clue. I think every Georgia fan probably is anticipating the answer. He's in the stadium here today.
Yeah. Here's another clue. It was in his college debut, I think.
Really?
I think it was in his first game playing.
Now I know you cheated.
As a Georgia Bulldog.
I know why you were academic All-American at Penn State. Great preparation for the quiz questions. Rattler's throw caught by Leggett. The answer is Kirby Smart, and you are correct. It was in 1995, right here in Williams-Brice Stadium. His first college game. 3 sacks and a 42-23 Georgia win.
And that was before South Carolina was in the SEC. Obviously, they weren't SEC East rivals, but they played against each other a lot.
Here's a look back to that magnificent performance. The video was a little different back then.
Kirby's teams were 3-1 against South Carolina. 2 years after this, he had 2 interceptions against the Gamecocks. Kirby was an outstanding player and an outstanding scholar athlete as well.
He was a 4-year letter winner for the great Jim Donnan. First team All-SEC and team captain in '98 as a senior. 13 career interceptions. And 4 times academic All-SEC, all 4 years. Christian Beal Smith, the ball carrier. You know, we talked to some Georgia players before the opener against Oregon, and they talked about, you know, his emphasis on academics.
Right.
And they say every day they walk by the plaques where they see his name for his academic achievements, so they know he lived it when he played there,
right.
And he expects the same from them. Do the best they can in the classroom. Pretty good defensive backfield when he played. Champ Bailey wasn't bad.
Not too bad.
And now what a coach. He remains very close to his coach, Jim Donnan, who still lives in Athens. Comes to a lot of practices. Christian Beal-Smith stacked up. Kirby's one of 11 head coaches leading the football program at his alma mater. It's a Georgia family. His wife Mary Beth was a 2-year starter on the basketball team for UGA. And I was not surprised, Todd, nor were you, that when they ran off at the half with a 24-0 lead and Molly asked him his biggest takeaways of the half, he focused on 2 negatives.
Yeah. Well, I think Glenn Schumann, the defensive coordinator, summed it up for us yesterday. They are not going to lower their standard for anything. I mean, it doesn't matter who they're playing, what the opponent, how the game's going. They have a standard that they want to play to that's pretty high.
Spencer Rattler takes off. Dives forward. He's about a yard short of the first down at the 44-yard line. It's also a situation where Kirby is starting to churn out assistant coaches. Yeah. You know, it's like you go to Tuscaloosa, as he did. You learn under Nick Saban, then you go off and run your own program. Dan Lanning left last year. I think Todd Monken, if he wants to, will be a head coach next season. To me, if you had to vote for the Broyles Award as the top assistant coach in the country to this point in the year, and it's super early, it would be him. And the play design, I know they have talent everywhere, but the play design has been magnificent. Nate Atkins, the ball carrier. And Kirby doesn't like the spot. They're going to give them the first down.
They converted a 4th down with a fake punt. They got stopped on a 4th down that led to a Georgia touchdown. There's another conversion on 4th down. And South Carolina with another opportunity here.
Atkins, who was the ball carrier, is a transfer from East Tennessee. He is the son of South Carolina's offensive line coach Greg Atkins.
Too much happy feet, Spencer. That didn't need to be backpedaling on that one. The pocket was good enough. Just move a little bit, keep your feet settled, make a stronger throw.
Well, you can understand why he would have some anxiety with the pressure he's been under all day. Meanwhile, Stetson Bennett finished 16 out of 23 for 284.
See, he doesn't need to drift right there. I mean, that's a hard way to throw and be accurate. But he has been under duress for most of the afternoon.
Juju McDowell shoved out of bounds by Smile Munden, but a nice play for the Gamecocks. They're back into Georgia territory at the 48-yard line. With 3rd down and 3 upcoming, under 2 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter.
I think you have to try to throw something vertical here. They just have not really tried. If you got to keep a back and a tight end in to protect, but you got to try to throw the football down the field here.
Pitched back to Juju McDowell. And he's ripped down by M.J. Sherman. Another backup deep down the depth chart. Getting a chance to play, junior from Baltimore. And we talked in the opener, if you're wondering how can this defense that lost all those players, 8 draft picks, 5 in the first round, be like this to start the year? It's because of situations like this. They play a lot of players.
Yep.
And the new guys who are stepping in have played downs in the previous year or 2 or 3.
And not just in mop-up time. I mean, in real games when the game is on the line, they just substitute a lot anyway.
And they're out there against South Carolina's first-string offense. All kinds of flags down. Rattler running for his life. And he has the first down on 4th and 3 if the play stands, but there are flags in the offensive backfield.
Personal foul, illegal blindside block, offense number 3. 15-yard penalty.
This is the 75th meeting. Georgia's won 6 of the last 7. A notable loss there in 2019, a big upset in Athens. They continue to go deep into the playbook. And that's the Nylon Morissette. Another true freshman. He's from Stone Mountain, Georgia. in a hurry. Branson Robinson for the first down. Tackled by Zach Pickens, who's still in there. Nose tackle for South Carolina. Thought about turning pro at the end of last year. He came back for his senior year. Said in part because he wanted to earn a degree. Matter of fact, his mom insisted on it. Working in sport management. And he has an interesting internship right now.
Yeah.
3 or 4 days during the week, he goes down the street to Blythewood to help coach their football team. South Carolina practices in the morning, so he gets over there in the afternoon with the high school team when he can. Catch in the flat, made by Oscar Delp. Eamon Wari made the tackle. Georgia's team out there right now looks like the Under Armour All-American game from last year. Highly recruited freshmen all over the field. Branson Robinson remains the running back. Shifts onto the right hip. Robinson, 5'10", 220. He played in the Under Armour All-American game. Ranked the #9 running back prospect in the country out of Canton, Mississippi last year.
Well, this is really good for guys like him, guys like Carson Beck, but even more important for your backup offensive linemen to get those guys in some real live reps so that you can count on some of those guys to step up and run some key plays for you in critical games down the road.
Yeah, almost all substitutes across the line. Swing pass. And a catch and run gets them out very near the first down. That's Cash Jones. We have a lot of people on our offensive depth chart, and he is not one of them. He has his first touch of this season.
I just, we had these guys in week 1, and, we saw a lot of everything in openers, penalties, special teams miscues, execution problems. I'm just amazed through the first 3 weeks of the season how well this Georgia offense has executed. I mean, the play calling, the execution, getting the ball in the hands of the right guys at the right time.
Here are the numbers from the season. They're eye-popping. They've had 27 possessions. We didn't count 2 end-of-the-half kneel downs when they weren't trying to score, but when they've tried to score, they've scored on 21 of 27 possessions with 16 touchdowns.
High efficiency. I mean, the quarterback has been efficient, but the entire offense, they distribute the football. Lots of guys get their hands on the football, and they know how to get it to their best players.
Carson Beck dumps it down, wide open. Cole Spear. You want to guess what class he's in? He's a true freshman from Calhoun, Georgia. Now that's the first catch of his college career. Good for 12 yards, 10 after the catch. Beck, good tackle in the open field by Devonnie Reed, a transfer from Central Michigan. Was a good player there. Second team All Mid-American Conference for the Chippewas last season. He showed up here in Columbia in January, so he went through spring practice. But they're decimated. More injuries today on that defense. Darius Rush, a starting corner, left the game with a hamstring injury. I think that's going to be the question going forward for South Carolina. Will they have enough capable, healthy bodies to be competitive in the Southeastern Conference?
They have 12 guys in the field right now.
That's one way to do it.
South Carolina has called their first time out of the half.
Well, when you're trying to get new guys into the game, sometimes substitution management can be difficult.
And then later in the week, his sleep slowly started to improve. Tuesday night, a 61, and then he said his best night of sleep this entire week was last night. The haze in the barn, he was in the group hotel, and he said he only woke up and texted himself once last night.
There'll be a lot of sleepless nights for coaches getting ready to face the Georgia Bulldogs. Clayton White did such a great job here, big part of their success last year. 2 years ago, when they were 2-8 before this staff arrived, they gave up 36 points per game. Last year, it was down to 24, 12-point per game improvement. They went from 105th in the country in scoring defense before they got here to 46th last year. He's a very highly regarded coach.
And one of the things they did really well last year was they took the ball away. They had 24 takeaways, 15 interceptions. Torian Gray is their defensive back coach, was a great player and coach at Virginia Tech. And they've only had one takeaway so far this year in 3 games. So
that'll have to change.
Yep.
Vonnie Reed, another injured starter in the secondary for Carolina. Back line of the end zone. And I think the ball came out. The nylon. Morissette, immediately one of my favorite names in college football.
That was a perfect throw by Carson Beck. I mean, he throws it to the back of the end zone. Either your guy gets it or nobody. 2 hands on the ball, just isn't able to bring it in. That's perfect placement of the football. Clayton says finally, keep him out of the end zone. They got the stop.
Podlesny might be leg weary, so they're going to give Jared Zirkle 6 games of multiple touchdowns from scrimmage since the start of last season. Is 2 more than any other tight end in the country since the beginning of last year when he broke in as a freshman. Wound up being the Freshman Player of the Year by the Football Writers Association of America at any position. Was the Freshman of the Year on offense in the SEC. Jared Zirkle kick touchbacks as well. Let's take a look at today's road test. Brought to you by Goodyear. We mentioned the schedule. They move back into conference in 2 weeks at Missouri. Big favorite to win that. Also at home against Auburn. That number seems high. Vanderbilt almost a lock. They have Florida between the hedges and Tennessee. That's a good team. At Mississippi State. Looking at the FPI. Looks like their toughest test right now. That obviously they can change. But no Alabama, no Arkansas, no Ole Miss, no Texas A&M, no LSU.
They better not look past the Kent State Golden Flashes, though, next week.
Luke Doty is in at quarterback. He dumped it off for Marion Brown, who then delivered a little stiff arm at the end of the play to Dan Jackson. Do you think they're serious? I mean, obviously,
I just
70% plus to win every one of those games.
Yeah, I say that about Kent. I have a nephew that is a backup tight end for the Flashes.
Well, go ahead.
Forward to his trip.
What's his name?
Hayden Junker, the junk man. Be making that trip down to Athens next week. But yeah, I mean, you look at the way they're playing right now, the depth they have, the talent, and that schedule. I mean, I don't see a loss. I mean, obviously, the game with Florida every year in Jacksonville is a challenge. And I think the road game at Kentucky. I think Kentucky is a pretty good football team. They're well coached by Mark Stoops. They'll get their running back, Rodriguez, back in October. But they're still they're just head and shoulders above everybody right now on that side of the league. Tennessee, we saw them last week. They're better, right? They've got weapons. Josh Heupel just signing a new big extension for his contract.
Well,
they like what he's doing in Knoxville.
Must have been all the nice things you said about him last weekend on our telecast. Here's Doty, who was the projected starter in the offseason before Spencer Rattler transferred in here. He would have been the starter at Georgia last year, but he was injured. That's when they had to address Zeb Nolan, the graduate assistant coach, who we can report has returned to coaching this year now with the South Carolina offensive staff. Luke Doty, a junior from Myrtle Beach. 2-4 as the starting quarterback. He's appeared in 13 career games. He was 2-2 as their starter last year.
He's
4 different starting quarterbacks with whom they won a game, which is a remarkable note.
No doubt. He's more of a dual threat guy, you know, and then he had that foot injury last year, which really curtailed his season. But he is he's a good runner as well, as we've already seen on this possession.
And I believe I said they have Florida between the hedges. Of course, they play Jacksonville.
Right, Jacksonville.
We've done that game before, the cocktail party. I don't know if we're allowed to call that still, but we just did, so there you go. Juju McDowell got spun around. He's inside the 30. Guess the only mystery left is will South Carolina score the first touchdown given up by Georgia's defense this year. They scored the first touchdown against the defense last year. I think the center snapped it before everybody else was ready. It's Eric Douglas, the starting center, still in there. They caught Doty by surprise. And now they're going to chat about it. Caught everybody by surprise. They'll all get on the same page. They have the starting offensive line out there. Vershawn Lee is the left guard. Javon Gwynn, the team captain, the right guard. They're starters. Doty dumps it out in the flat. Juju McDowell slipped as he went to cut. He's down at the 13-yard line. Well, we saw Oregon get down to the goal line late in the season opener, tried to score in 4th and goal and did not. And Georgia's defense stopped the Gamecocks and keep that touchdown streak through 3 games to start the year. Juju McDowell again. Tresman Marshallman on the stop.
Well, they led the nation in scoring defense a year ago at 10.1 points a game. And if you think about it, they gave up the majority of the points they gave up all year in that loss to Alabama in the SEC championship game.
Yeah,
still averaged 10.1, right?
Yeah, they were giving up only 6.9 points per game after the regular season. To the end zone and incomplete. Well defended by Dalen Everett.
And when we talked to Glenn Schumann, and we asked him about scoring defense, and he said, you know, our standard has never changed. When he said when he went to Alabama, 2008, Kirby was there, Nick Saban, their plan was 13 points per game. And they have not changed that, even though the game has changed. And
ESPN app. What do you like in that one? Sam, well, I'll ask you in a minute. We have to go back to the interception.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
A couple older linebackers in there as backups. This is Ryan Davis. He's going to put the pressure on. Tresman Marshall is going to kind of drift in here and kind of a hold defender. Read the eyes of the quarterback and get the interception. That was the hardest hit position for Georgia by the draft and graduation. The inside linebacker position. Smile Munden and Jamin Dumas-Johnson, the starters. Backups now, Tresman Marshall and Ryan Davis combined for a great play here.
The third quarterback in, Brock Vandegrift, redshirt freshman. Bogart, Georgia. Here's the great Matt Berry.
McDonough, I've been sitting on this cut-in specifically for you. So after Rondé Gatson put Syracuse up after the 2-point conversion and a touchdown, the Cuse defense does this. Pick 6, now up 25-15 midway through the 4th.
Just put them in the college football playoff right now. Big year for Dino Babers. They needed to have a good season. It looks like they might. Vandegrift's pass is batted down in the middle of the defensive line by T.J. Sanders, a redshirt freshman. So who do you like tonight in the UFC Fight Night from the Apex? 4 Eastern time, the prelim start. ESPN Plus. Corey Sandhagen or Song Yadong?
Corey. Don't just Corey. Whatever. Sandhagen.
Here's Brett Thorson to punt. Here's Brett Thorson to punt. Wow. Oh, my goodness. Towering and long for the Australian. Talked to run back by Josh Vann. We talked to Kirby before the season started. He said, yeah, everybody else has an Australian punter. We figure we might as well get one too. 56-yard punt and a 21-yard return by Vann. The champs here today. On first down, Luke Doty keeps, runs for almost 10. They have Dante Miller in at running back now. Now he is a transfer from Columbia. So he went from Columbia University to Columbia, South Carolina. Terrific player for the Lions. He's a walk-on graduate transfer known as Little Turbo. For his explosive speed, rushed for 1,281 career yards at Columbia, 9th in the history of their program. And he'll get the carry, his third as a Gamecock. Xavier Sorey made the tackle. And we're down under 2.5 minutes to go. What does the prognosis think for South Carolina going forward?
Well, they've got to get some guys back. Now, health-wise, obviously 2 of the guys they lost last week were ACL injuries. They're done for the year, but they can get some other guys back. They've got 2 games, winnable games, Charlotte, South Carolina State next on their schedule before they get back into SEC play. So they can get healthy and they can get back on the right track winning-wise in the next couple weeks.
How about that run after the catch by Jalen Brooks? He's another transfer out of Tarleton State.
He's talented. I'm telling you, they've got some talented wideouts. They didn't make a big difference at all today, but down the stretch, they've got some guys who can make plays.
Trying to score the first touchdown against Georgia this year. DeCarrion Joyner got walloped by David Daniel Sisavon, the sophomore. You know Kirby wants another shutout.
Absolutely.
Back-to-back, they blanked Samford last week 33-0.
So do the starters. You know, they don't want their backups in the game giving up a touchdown now either.
Well, the Gamecocks were down here last time. Trezman Marshall had an interception, the first of his college career in his 24th career game.
See if they bring pressure similar to what they did the last third down play. Remember the last third down play? It was Ryan Davis who brought inside pressure, and Marshall drifted back to the middle of the formation and got the pick. Those 2 guys are back in the game together again as inside linebackers, 0 and 15.
It's amazing, too, with as many men as they play and how many they run on and off, how they manage it without substitution infractions. Doty given a clean pocket, has a man open, and it is caught in the corner of the end zone. Trayvon Kenyon with the first touchdown scored against Georgia this season. It comes with 53 seconds left in their 3rd game of the year.
David Daniel Sisavon. So I got caught up in the coverage on that one. He got mixed up, and we've not seen any receivers for South Carolina running wide open until that play.
Mitch Jeter